Hare Krishna. We continue reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is. We are on chapter 7, Knowledge of the Absolute, text 5. Apareyam itastva anyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharayate jagat. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Besides these, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mind, which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. Yesterday we heard Krishna is saying earth, water, air, ether, fire, mind, intelligence, false ego. All these 8, he says, they are mine. They comprise of my separated material energy and they belong to me. And then Krishna is further continuing to say that this material inferior energy is there. Besides this, there is another superior energy. And who are they? They are the living entities. And what are the living entities doing? Exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. So we are the superior energy of Krishna, the living entities. We are the living entity, and we are trying to exploit the resources of this material nature. And Krishna is saying both the living entity and the material nature, they are my energy. So we are saying, because we say God is omnipotent. So what are these potencies? Now we are trying to understand that we, the living entities, are also one of the potency of the Supreme Lord. And similarly, so is this material world. So does it mean that I become God if I'm one of the energy of God? No, I am in quality. In quality, we are same like God, but not in quantity. Like the spark of a fire has heat and light. But if you compare it to the full fire, the heat and light in a fire cannot be compared to the heat and light in a small spark. So we living entities, we are part and parcel of God. We are not unlimited like God is. We are one of His energy. He is the energetic. We are part and parcel of God. And what we are doing, we are trying to exploit this material nature. We are thinking this material nature belongs to us. Whatever we see, whatever we think is mine, without understanding that it rightly belongs to God. This is how we are exploiting the resources of material nature. Here it is clearly mentioned that the living entities belong to the superior nature or energy of the Supreme Lord. The inferior energy is matter manifested in different elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Both forms of material nature, namely gross, earth, etc., and subtle, mind, etc., are products of the inferior energy. So this material nature, she comprises of this 8 elements, out of which 5 are gross. Gross means we can see them or we can feel them. And subtle means they're not gross. We can't see them with our material eyes. They're subtle, but they're a material element. So the earth, water, fire, air, and ether, they are the gross elements. Then mind, intelligence, and false ego. These are the subtle elements. So 5 plus 3, 8. All these 8, they are products of the material energy. Material energy is called inferior. We, the living entity, is called superior energy, superior nature. Why? Why are we called superior and material energy is called inferior? Anyone?
Conscious.
You're conscious. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, good morning, Neha. Thank you for joining in. Yes, we are conscious. We are conscious. That's why we are superior. I'm sorry?
And also because that's something that God has given us.
I'm sorry?
It's the Mother Nature also, probably because that's what God has given us.
That God has given us what?
It's called like the Mother Nature, probably. It's not material, right?
Mother Nature is material. She is material nature. You see, the elements, the elements of the material nature, all this earth, water, air, fire, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego, these are the elements of Mother Nature. But they are called inferior. Material nature is called inferior energy because these elements are all dead. They are not conscious. It's the living entity, we. We are conscious. Whatever we see in this material world is a combination of the material elements and the living entity. Because the living entity is there, the matter seems to be moving. For example, if there's a car, it's not going to move by itself unless someone drives it. The car cannot drive by itself. So the material energy does not have the capability to act on herself, by herself. But when the superior living force enters the car, can drive it. Is that okay?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
So the living entities who are exploiting these inferior energies for different purposes are the superior energy of the Supreme Lord. And it is due to this energy that the entire material world functions. We are just trying to exploit this different combination and permutation of the material element. Whatever we see, if we break it down, it may be a bag, it may be whatever, it may be a car, it may be a house, it may be whatever things that we get attached to, the material things. If we break it down, what are these? They're just these material elements: earth, water, air, fire, ether. Or we may be attached to another body or our own body. Then we add in mind, intelligence, and false ego. We are so attached to our body. But this is what our body is made up of. It's just dead matter. What is living is us. And that's the reason when we give up the body, then they say, oh, this is a dead body. Till the time the body is living, we don't say this is a living body. We say he or her, or it has a name. As soon as the living entity leaves the body is called dead body. So the entire cosmic manifestation is working because the living entity is there. The living entity, we are there inside the body. And the Paramatma is there. The Paramatma is there inside each and every atom. It's by his energy that the wind is blowing, or the photosynthesis is happening, or whatever we see, that is happening by the energy of the Supreme Lord. It's by his energy it's happening. So, the cosmic manifestation has no power to act unless it is moved by the superior energy, the living entity. So one example can be given is, we keep all the material that is required to build a skyscraper. Till the time there is not a person who comes and actually puts the things together, it's not going to happen. The skyscraper is not going to happen. Not that we put all the earth, water, air, fire, ether, all the bricks and glass and whatever things we need to build a skyscraper. Even if we collect them in one place and we sleep in the night and morning we wake up and we think a skyscraper will be there. No, it won't. Because the material energy, the material nature is not independent. She has no power to act independently. The energies are always controlled by the energetic, and therefore the living entities are always controlled by the Lord. They have no independent existence. So just as the material energy is one of the energies of the Lord, We, the living entity, the superior energy, is also an energy of the Supreme Lord. We are not independent. We are not God. It's not that by our power the sun is rising and the rains are falling and whatever is happening. No, everything is happening under the control of the Supreme Lord. They are never equally powerful as unintelligent men think. If we think that the living entity and God are equally powerful, then we are being foolish. If I think I am as independent and as God is, if I think I'm God, then I'm just being foolish. I'm not trying to understand the fact. What is my true position? What is the position of God? The distinction between the living entities and the Lord is described in Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 10, chapter 87, text 30 as follows. Apari Mita dhruvas tanu brito yadi sarvagatas tarhi na shashi yateti niyamo dhruva netarratha ajani chayanmayam tad avimuchya niyantar bhavet samam anujanatam yad amatam mata dushtataya. O Supreme Eternal, if the embodied living entities were eternal and all-pervading like you, then they would not be under your control. But if the living entities are accepted as minute energies of your Lordship, then they are at once subject to your supreme control. Therefore, real liberation entails surrender by the living entities to your control, and that surrender will make them happy. So we are not God. We are not all-pervading. God is all-pervading. God is omnipresent. We are not omnipresent. We are just present right now inside our own material body. We are eternal, yes. We are eternal, yes, but we are not all-pervading. We are not supremely independent. We are under the control of God. We just have to understand our position in relationship with God. That is self-realization. And this position we can easily understand by surrender. Surrender to God, to surrender to the control of God. That will make us happy and that will give us liberation. In that constitutional position only can they be controllers. So in that position, we can be controller. How? Because then we are no more controlled by the modes of material nature. We are independent of the modes of nature. When we understand I'm the spirit soul, my duty is to serve God. And when a soul is acting in the service of God, he's independent. Then he is a controller. He's not under the modes of nature. Therefore, men with limited knowledge who advocate the monistic theory that God and the living entities are equal in all respects are actually guided by a faulty and polluted opinion. So if we think that God and the soul is the same, are equal, no, this is a faulty theory. We have to give up that fault. We have to give up this fault, thinking that I'm God, I'm equal to God. And we have to come to our correct position, that I am an eternal part and parcel of God. The Supreme Lord Krishna is the only controller and all living entities are controlled by him. Ekale Ishvara Krishna. There is only one controller. There's only one God. It's not that there are many gods, or you are God, I'm God, everyone is God. No, then there is no meaning to the word God. God is only one, and that is only Krishna. He's the only controller. And we, living entities, are controlled by him. Why? Because we are his energy. We are one of his energy. These living entities are his superior energy because the quality of their existence is one and the same with the Supreme. But they are never equal to the Lord in quantity of power. So God, he is conscious. That's why we are conscious. But he is supremely conscious. We are not supremely conscious. Yeah, we are not all-pervading. We are very localized. So we can never be equal to God. God is Satchidananda, we are Satchidananda. But the quantity of power that he has is unlimited, whereas the quantity of power we have, that is Anu. Very, 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 very insignificant, very tiny, very tiny. So we can understand that we are same and yet different, same in quality, but totally different in quantity. God's power is unlimited. We are tiny, tiny. While exploiting the gross and subtle inferior nature, energy, matter, the superior energy, the living entity forgets his real spiritual mind and intelligence. This forgetfulness is due to the influence of matter upon the living entity. But when the living entity becomes free from the influence of the illusory material energy, he attains the stage called mukti, or liberation. So what has happened right now is we have forgotten. What we have forgotten, that we are part and parcel of God. Why? Because we want to control this material nature. We want to imitate God. We want to pretend that we are God. So to be able to do this, God has made us forget our original position as being part and parcel of him. So what is mukti? Mukti means when we understand I'm part and parcel of God, I'm not God. And that I'm supposed to engage in loving service with God. That is liberation. So the false ego, under the influence of material illusion, thinks I matter and material acquisitions are mine. So that's what we think. We think we are the body. We think the individuality is material. That's the false ego. This is our material life. And we are thinking whatever is in connection with the body is mine. But what's our actual position? That we are eternal part and parcel of God. His actual position is realized when he's liberated from all material ideas, including the conception of his becoming one in all respects with God. So right now we are thinking we are God, we are God. I'm going to do this, I'll become God. I'm going to do that, I'll become God. I'll do whatever, and I'll become God. We are in that kind of a crazy mindset. But liberation means giving up all these conceptions, misconceptions. Therefore, one may conclude that the Gita confirms the living entity to be only one of the multi-energies of Krishna. So, God, when we say he's omnipotent, he has many, many energies. And we, the living entity, are just one of his many energies. And when this energy is freed from material contamination, it becomes fully Krishna conscious or liberated. So right now we are thinking we are the body, but we need to realize that we are not the body, but we are the eternal soul, part and parcel of God. The more we hear and chant, we can be easily situated in that position. Is that okay?
Yes, okay.
Okay, so we'll stop here for today. Thank you so much for listening in and joining in. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Shilpa Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta